Before the show starts, drop a comment below with where you're watching from. Then sit back, relax, and get ready for some chilling stories. People think being a park ranger is peaceful. And yeah, sometimes it is. You're surrounded by trees, mountains, and silence. But I learned the hard way that silence doesn't always mean safety. I was stationed at a remote trailhead in Oregon, about 40 miles from the nearest town. The forest around us was dense and old, like ancient old. Most hikers used the main loop trail and cleared out by late afternoon. After 6 p.m., the whole place turned into a ghost town. That's when the weird stuff started. It began small. A hiker told me he saw someone standing near his car late at night. Just watching. No movement. No interaction. Just staring. I brushed it off. Probably someone camping off trail or a prankster. But then I heard it again. And again. Different people. Always at night. Always the same thing. A figure near the parking lot. So I set up a trail cam facing the lot. Left it overnight. Next day, I checked the footage. Nothing. Literally nothing between 11 p.m. and 4 a.m. Just static. The timestamp jumped like those hours didn't exist. It creeped me out, but I'm not the type to panic. I figured maybe the battery died or the card got corrupted. So I set up another one. Higher up this time, hidden better. Same result. Static during those exact hours. A week later, I was doing my usual patrol around 9 p.m. when I noticed a car I didn't recognize. Old silver sedan, no plates. Parked way in the back corner of the lot. Windows fogged up. Headlights off. Just sitting there. I walked up slowly, flashlight ready. Knocked on the window. Nothing. I went to the driver's side. Empty. I circled to the passenger side. That's when I saw him. A man was sitting in the back seat, slouched low, face barely visible. He didn't react at all. No flinch, no movement. Just stared straight ahead like I wasn't even there. "Sir? You can't park overnight here," I said. Nothing. I opened the door. It was unlocked. But the moment I touched the handle, he was gone. I swear to God, the back seat was empty. Completely. Like no one had been there at all. I felt cold. Not scared, not yet. But cold. Like the kind that starts in your spine and spreads. I walked back to my cabin with my flashlight, scanning the woods every few seconds. I didn't sleep that night. The next few nights were worse. I started hearing footsteps outside my trailer. Not animals. These were slow, deliberate steps. Boot steps. I'd open the door and shine my light, but see nothing. One night, I found a smear on my window. A handprint. Pressed against the glass like someone had been standing there watching me sleep. The next morning, I got into my truck and found something that made my stomach flip. A printed photo on the driver's seat. It was a picture of me, sleeping, from inside my trailer. Someone had been inside. I reported it to my supervisor, but there wasn't much to go on. No security cameras, no witnesses, no physical evidence. Just me sounding like a paranoid idiot. But I wasn't done. I needed answers. So I decided to bait him. I left my trailer unlocked that night. Just barely. Enough to make him think I was careless, like I wasn't suspicious. I positioned myself in the tree-line about 50 feet back, fully camouflaged, with my radio off and my hand on my flashlight. I waited. For hours. The forest was dead silent, too silent. Not even insects. No wind. Just this oppressive stillness like the woods were holding their breath. Then I heard it. The trailer door creaked open. I stood up slowly and crept closer. The silhouette inside was moving carefully, like he knew where everything was. He went straight to the little storage hatch in the floor, something only someone who had been in there before would know about. That's when I stepped out. "Don't move," I said. "Hands up." He froze, then turned around slowly. I had my flashlight in his eyes, but I could still make out his face. Late 40s, scruffy beard, wearing a black hoodie and cargo pants. No panic. Just this cold, empty stare. "You've been watching me," I said. "You left that photo." He tilted his head slightly and smiled, just a little. That smile haunts me more than anything else. "You don't know how long I've been watching you," he said, voice hoarse like gravel. Before I could get another word out, he bolted out the back. I chased him, heart in my throat, crashing through brush and roots. He was fast, but he wasn't trying to escape. He was leading me. We ended up near the edge of the lot again, right by an old container that had been sitting there for years. I always thought it was storage from the previous ranger team. I'd never been inside. The door was cracked open. Inside, man, I wish I hadn't looked. There were screens, dozens of them, hooked up to cameras placed all over the forest, including inside my trailer. Some were live, others were looping footage. There were printed pictures pinned to the walls. Me, eating, sleeping, reading, walking the trails. Some dated back to before I even transferred to that post. He'd been watching The Last Ranger too. There was a cot in the corner, food wrappers, bottled water. This guy had been living here. I called it in. State police came, but he was gone, just vanished into the woods. He left everything behind except himself. They dusted the place, ran prints. His name was Roger Downs, ex-Park Service employee, dismissed for stalking a co-worker years ago. Apparently, he disappeared off the grid. Guess I found him. They finally caught him 6 weeks later, in another state. He was trying to break into a ranger's station. I quit not long after, packed everything up and left. I haven't set foot in a forest since. Sometimes though, when I wake up at night, I swear I hear that trailer door creak open again. I should have trusted my gut from the start. But when you're stranded in a tiny town with a blown radiator and no rental cars for miles, options get real thin. It was supposed to be a simple ride. I posted in a private stargazing forum asking if anyone was heading toward the national park where I had just been stationed. Olivia responded, said she was doing a solo camping trip in the same area. Her profile checked out, clean, lots of astronomy posts, even a couple of photos of her with her telescope in the desert. She pulled up in a dusty blue 4Runner, all smiles and soft voice. Looked normal enough. Casual hiking clothes, sunglasses, blonde braid over her shoulder. She waved and helped me load my pack in the trunk. The first hour on the road felt fine. She asked about my ranger job, what I liked most about being outdoors. But when I asked her where she was from, or how she got into stargazing, she got vague real fast. Said she moved around a lot, liked to keep things off-grid. That was the first red flag. The second came when she took a turn off the main highway. Faster route, she said. This way skips a bunch of traffic and has way better views. I pulled up the GPS on my phone, but no signal. She noticed me looking and smiled, almost like she'd been waiting for that moment. Don't worry. I've taken this road a dozen times. The terrain got rougher. Dirt, gravel, barely wide enough for one vehicle. No other cars for miles. When we reached the entrance to the park, I was relieved. I recognized the signage, the ranger post. But Olivia didn't stop. I'm gonna camp a bit deeper in, she said. Less noise, less people. You should come with. It's incredible this time of year. It sounded harmless. And honestly, I didn't want to seem rude. So I agreed. She drove us about 6 miles past the normal campsite, into a backcountry section rarely used. My internal alarms were going off, but I kept quiet. I told myself I was overthinking. We parked near a dried creek and started unloading. That's when I noticed she didn't bring much. No tent, no sleeping bag, just a pack, a metal flask, and a long hunting knife strapped to her thigh. You travel light, I joked, trying to ease the tension I felt creeping in. She looked at me dead serious. I only bring what I need. Later, as the sun dipped low, she built a fire with practiced ease. We sat on opposite logs, watching the flames. That's when she started talking. Ever think about how easy it'd be to just disappear out here? She asked. Like if someone really wanted to. No trails, no people, nothing but silence. I nodded slowly. I guess. Yeah, but why would anyone want to? She shrugged. Sometimes people don't deserve to go back. I laughed nervously. That's kinda dark. She didn't laugh. That night, I pretended to fall asleep. I watched her from the corner of my eye. She just sat by the fire, staring at me. Didn't blink. Didn't move. Just stared. Around 2 a.m., I tried checking my phone again. Still dead. Then I noticed something weird. My power bank was gone. I checked my bag, empty. Even my emergency radio was missing. That's when I realized. She had gone through my stuff. I zipped up my jacket, quietly slipped my boots on, and crept into the darkness. My only hope was the old fire lookout tower about 2 miles east. If I could make it there, I might find a way to call for help. But as I moved through the brush, I heard it. Crunch. Olivia was following me. I dropped low and held my breath. The moonlight cast faint shadows through the juniper trees, and I could just barely make out her shape moving a few yards behind me. She was slow, careful, like a predator. I waited until she turned slightly, then bolted downhill through the thicket. My legs tore through branches and cacti, but I didn't care. I just ran. I didn't look back until I reached the base of the ridge, where the old fire tower stood like a skeleton against the sky. Climbing it was hell. My hands were slick with sweat, trembling, slipping on the rusted rails. At the top, I kicked open the supply box and found what I prayed for, a dusty old emergency beacon, bolted to the floor. It looked ancient, but the red light blinked when I pulled the cover. I slammed the activation switch and a loud, pulsing alarm rang out through the desert. That sound, man, I've never been so happy and terrified at once. I ducked behind the railing and waited. Minutes passed. Then I heard her. Olivia's voice, sweet and calm, floated up the tower like smoke. "Rachel, come on. Let's talk. You didn't have to run." I stayed dead silent. "You're just like the others," she said, her tone darker now. "You pretend to care. You pretend to listen. But you're liars. All of you." She started climbing. The metal creaked under her weight. I grabbed a rusted pipe from the floor, only thing I could use as a weapon, and braced myself. But then I heard another sound, tires on gravel. Headlights flashed through the trees. She paused, looked down, and without a word, she jumped. I scrambled to the edge. She wasn't dead, just gone. Disappeared into the dark like a shadow melting into the earth. The Rangers found me a few minutes later, still clutching that pipe, shaking like a leaf. They caught Olivia 4 days later at another state park. She had a fake ID, a different name, and a list of forum usernames written in a notebook. Mine was on there, underlined. Turns out she'd lured 2 other women, like me, into the wilderness before. Neither of them made it out. I gave my statement, handed over everything, and packed my things. I haven't worked a ranger job since. Sometimes I still visit that forum. Not to post, just to see if she ever shows up again. Because if she does, someone needs to stop her. I've been a park ranger for over 15 years. Seen my share of broken legs, bear encounters, dumb tourists getting lost. But what happened last fall? That changed everything. It started like any other day, just me and the pines. I was doing my usual patrol through a restricted area on the far west side of the park. We keep it closed off most of the year to allow for wildlife restoration, but that doesn't stop people, especially hunters. Around midday, I caught sight of movement through the trees. 3 men, dressed in camo, no permits. They were about 300 feet down a slope, clearly not expecting company. I stayed low and pulled out my binoculars. They were arguing. One of them was waving a rifle around, yelling. Another guy pushed him back hard. I couldn't hear what they were saying, but it escalated fast. And then bang. It wasn't a warning shot. It was a mistake. The guy with the rifle had pulled the trigger mid-argument, and the third man dropped. Silence. The shooter froze. The second man backed away, hands up. I could see the panic on their faces. I knew I had to call it in. I took a step back, just one. Snap. A dry branch under my boot. They heard it. All hell broke loose. The guy with the rifle spun toward the sound and shouted something. I bolted, heart hammering, trying to put as much distance as I could between me and the scene. I didn't want to end up as the next accident. I made it back to my ATV and hauled out of there like my life depended on it. Because it did. I called it in as soon as I had a signal. Dispatch said they'd send officers, but it might be a few hours due to the terrain. They told me to stay put and lock up. So I did, or at least I tried. That night, I parked the Ranger truck right outside my trailer. Double-checked all my locks. Tried to convince myself that everything would be fine. But the next morning, taped to my windshield was a note. "You didn't see anything. Stay quiet." No signature. Just those words, written in big black marker. My blood ran cold. I reported it immediately, but when the officers arrived, the note was gone. Not just missing, like it had never been there. That same day, I found a snare trap outside my cabin. Tension wire buried under leaves. Human-sized. They weren't running. They were staying. And they knew where I lived. I started sweeping my trailer every night. Locking everything, checking for signs, scratches, footprints, anything. I moved in silence, lights off. One night, I was out near the tool shed when I heard the crunch of leaves behind me. I turned, flashlight ready, nothing. But sitting on the shed door was a bullet. Just one. Upright. Waiting. They wanted me scared. They wanted me to feel hunted. And it was working. I knew I couldn't rely on help. The park's communication lines were buggy on the best days, and someone was clearly jamming the signal or cutting access. Every time I tried the radio, it just gave static or dead air. So I changed tactics. I started using one of the old wildlife drones we'd mothballed a year earlier. Silent, with night vision and a live feed transmitter. I reprogrammed it to fly a low loop around my section of the park at night. It wasn't much, but it was a start. Then one night I got lucky. The drone picked up movement near the western creek. 3 men, huddled around a fire, whispering. One of them, the shooter, was pacing and yelling. The other 2 looked on edge. The audio was grainy, but I caught enough. Should have finished him. He saw everything. He's a ranger, they'll believe him. That was all I needed. I clipped the footage, saved it, and started planning my move. I knew the only way out was baiting them into exposing themselves. So I left a trail. Footprints, dropped gear, a flashlight accidentally left on. Then I camped out in one of the old weather shelters a quarter-mile uphill with a shotgun and a live link to the drone's feed. It didn't take long. Just after midnight, I heard them moving through the brush. They followed the trail like wolves. Then one of them spoke loud enough for the mic to catch. "Get rid of him. We leave tonight." I triggered the drone's emergency beacon. Red light flashing, loud alarm pulsing through the trees. It pinged directly to the law enforcement hub 20 miles south. I just had to stay alive until they got there. They tried to find me. I could hear them shouting, trying to flush me out. But I stayed low, out of sight, until I heard the engines. Park police and state troopers swarmed in. 2 of the men were taken down trying to run. The third, the shooter, was caught hiding in a hollowed-out tree. Turns out the ringleader used to be one of us. A former ranger, dismissed years ago after a misconduct charge. He knew the terrain, the blind spots, even the patrol schedules. That's how he avoided detection so long. He never said why he did it. Never spoke a word after the arrest. They were charged with multiple crimes, illegal hunting, obstruction, and attempted murder. I stayed. Not because I wasn't scared, I was. But because this is my park. And I won't be chased out of it. Still some nights, I'll be out on the trail, and I swear I hear voices in the trees. Not talking, just breathing.